I was born on the North Shore of Sydney, but my parents separated when I was in my early teens, and so I moved to Balmain. And at that stage I was a pretty rebellious kid, like I was not really doing what I was told to do, so I left school young and moved out of home young. And so by the time I was 16 I was living in Balmain, out of home. And the great thing about that was that there was just the best blues bands in Australia playing every night of the week, and it was the blues capital of Australia. So I just became totally transfixed on rhythm and blues and traditional blues from America. And so then I sort of became a bit of a purist, really. It's all I listened to, it's all I wanted to do with my life, it's all, And I was able to follow these great bands like the Mighty Reapers and the Hippos and the Blues Doctors and Backsliders and all these guys, and just sort of really absorb all of this. So there was a sense that there was a life here. Like you could make a living. You could have this life of being, if you were good enough, if you could cut your head above the rest of the crowd, if somehow you get into the right band, you could do the right things. And so by the time I was 17 or 18, I was in a touring rhythm and blues band. But I got with a singer called Rod Jeffrey, who'd been in the blues scene for a long time. And he kind of took me under his wing as the new lead guitar guy. And I toured around up and down, especially up and down the East Coast with him, playing a lot of crappy gigs for 4 or 5 years, just all the time. Then it sort of got to a point in my sort of mid-20s where I really felt I needed to do something, to get myself into another stage of life, because there wasn't really a solid future in doing this so much, So I went and did a contemporary music degree at Lismore. And so that was really great. It was good to go off and get a formal kind of musical education and do a BA and all of that, but really it was just a whole new network of people. Then I kind of got involved in other things, like I just drifted off into, I've always had an interest in Buddhism and the martial arts, and I've sort of threw myself into that. I went into that pretty deeply, and then I met my wife and got married, and so things kind of, there was still music happening, but it wasn't the main focus. And then in my late 30s, we moved up to the Northern Rivers actually, and then I came back to Sydney in my late 30s. I arrived back in the inner west, but not in Balmain, but in Annandale. My kids started to go to Annandale North Primary School, and I started to make connections there through guitar teaching. And it just worked out that I was really the only local kind of guitar teacher. There was a professional musician that was kind of, just teaching on the side. So that was really rewarding in a lot of ways, to sort of to come into that stage of life where I had kids and I could sort of offer something back to the school and just share all this music with a whole new generation of kids that really didn't have a lot of access to it outside of that, because it's not as if really classic blues, rock, soul music, country was really on the radio or anything. So sometimes it does take someone like me or an uncle or a dad or someone that's into that stuff to get a new generation of people happening with it, And that's what's happening here at Sunburst Music too. There's a lot of that going on, which is really good.